Something haunting about a place no one lives in, yet nothing is left. From Iceland's black beach holds a crumpled warplane like a grave to Pripyat's cracked playgrounds echo with vanished childhoods.
So you see children's toys. You realize that whatever happened here happened very quickly, and it was very bad.
These spots tell stories the ground forgot, but Google didn't. Stay with us as we reveal the 25 creepiest locations ever spotted on Google Maps.
Iceland DC-3 plane crash. Something metallic is rotting here. Half buried in volcanic ash, a silver corpse lies still, its wings torn, its nose crushed, its belly split open like an animal gutted mid-flight. American military aircraft, its body half swallowed by the landscape. The metal is torn, rusting, its nose crumpled. Wires hang like veins, exposed to the cold. This isn't a war zone. There's no battlefield nearby. Just the wreck of a Douglas C-117 sitting 6 yards from the sea on the flat glacial outwash of Solheimasandur. It didn't explode. It didn't burn. All 5 crew members climbed out alive. They were flying supplies from Keflavik to a remote U.S. base near Höfn. Somewhere over the south coast, the sky closed in. Fog thickened. Temperatures dropped below 14 degrees Fahrenheit. Ice crept across the wings. Then the engines started to die. There was no time to circle, no visibility left. Captain James tried to hold the plane steady. His co-pilot, Gregory Fletcher, still in training, turned south and prepared for ocean impact. But what appeared through the clouds wasn't water. It was a beach, flat, black, empty. The plane hit the sand hard and skidded toward the sea, coming to a stop just short of the waves. Fuel was leaking. The radios were failing. Within an hour, a rescue helicopter arrived. No one was hurt. The exact date of the crash is still disputed. U.S. records say November 24, 1973. The crew insists it was the 21st. Chernobyl and Pripyat, Ukraine. 36 years earlier, this place had been alive. A young Soviet city built for the workers of the Chernobyl nuclear plant, filled with families, schools, hospitals, stores. It was modern. It was proud. It was 2 miles from disaster. At 1:23 a.m. on April 26, 1986, Reactor 4 exploded. Plumes of radioactive particles drifted west. The wind spared Pripyat from the worst of it. For a few hours, on the ground, radiation levels reached 0.01 rem per hour. That's hundreds of times above normal. For comparison, the U.S. recommends evacuation if exposure is expected to exceed 1 rem over 4 days. Pripyat hit double that within 24 hours. Evacuation was delayed until late that night. Buses didn't arrive until the next day. By then, most residents had already received a whole-body dose of 2 rem. That's not enough to cause immediate symptoms, but it does raise the lifetime risk of cancer. Children, in particular, were exposed to dangerous levels of radioactive iodine. They were given potassium iodide tablets. Too late. Today, Pripyat remains sealed inside the 19-mile Chernobyl exclusion zone. The concrete has cracked. Trees grow through the floors. Paint peels from the walls in long curls. Toys are still scattered in the kindergarten. Medical equipment lies abandoned in the hospital. The morgue is intact. Radiation in the area is still far above natural levels. The most persistent isotope, cesium-137, has a half-life of 30 years. Half of what was released in 1986 is still in the soil and air. Some of it has been buried, some has been scattered, but it lingers. In 2021, urban explorer Adam Mark entered the city. He found shoes, cots, children's drawings. In the red forest nearby, he recorded radiation levels in the double digits. Hashima Island, Japan. On Hashima Island, silence echoes louder than sound. 15 kilometers off the coast of Nagasaki, this abandoned city rises from the sea like a fortress. Locals call it Gunkanjima, Battleship Island. From a distance, it looks like a warship drifting in the water. Up close, it's something else entirely. In 1890, Mitsubishi bought the island to mine coal buried beneath the sea. They built a city on top of the rock. Apartments, schools, shops, a hospital. There were no trees, no parks, no soil, just concrete and coal dust. At its peak, over 5,000 people lived here. Hashima became one of the most densely populated places on Earth, crammed into less than 17 acres. Life was vertical. Families stacked in tower blocks. Children played on rooftops. The island was sealed by a seawall, and when typhoons hit, waves slammed against the buildings. There was nowhere to go. By the 1970s, oil had replaced coal. The mines closed. In 1974, everyone left. They took what they could carry. Everything else remained. Now, Hashima is a decaying skeleton. At its population peak in 1959, Hashima had over 83,000 people per square mile, more crowded than modern-day Manhattan. Mexico Island of Dolls. The dolls don't blink, but they're watching. South of Mexico City, past the green canals of Xochimilco, a small island floats in still water. It doesn't look real. Dolls, hundreds of them, hang from trees. Their faces are sun-bleached, their limbs missing, their eyes glassy and wrong. They dangle from branches like warnings. The Island of the Dolls isn't a story, it's a place, and it never meant to become one. Locals say a girl drowned here under strange circumstances decades ago. The caretaker of the island, Don Julian Santana Barrera, found her body, or said he did. No one knows her name. There are no records. But soon after, Julian began collecting dolls, damaged, weathered, broken, and tying them to trees. He said it was to calm her spirit. People who visited claimed the same. Voices, eyes that opened, heads that turned, boats drifting too close to shore without wind or reason. Most say it's superstition, that there's nothing here but trees and dolls and old stories. But the island leaves a mark. Even in daylight, it feels wrong. The air is thick. The silence is unnatural. For 50 years, Julian filled the island. He said the dolls were not only for the girl, but for others. Spirits that had joined her, spirits that needed company. When he died in 2001, it was in the canal, the same spot where the girl supposedly drowned. The Island of the Dolls began with just one doll, a discarded toy Julian found floating in the water. The gates of hell, Turkmenistan. The ground here burns, not in bursts or flashes, but in a constant steady roar. The air above it shimmers. The sand around it glows orange. In the middle of the Karakum Desert, the earth has been on fire for over 50 years. Locals call it the door to hell. It looks like it. About 160 miles from Turkmenistan's capital, a hole nearly 230 feet wide and 65 feet deep gapes open in the desert floor. At night, the flames pulse from below like something alive. Insects are drawn to it. So are desert spiders. Some fall in, some jump. They don't come back. This wasn't a myth. It was a mistake. In 1971, Soviet scientists arrived looking for oil. They drilled into what they thought was a solid field, only to discover it was a thin crust over a pocket of natural gas. Their equipment collapsed into the void. The ground gave way in a chain reaction. Craters opened across the site. One of those craters didn't stop burning. Methane gas, colorless and deadly, began leaking out. Animals in the area started to die. To stop the spread and avoid a potential explosion, the scientists set the gas on fire. They assumed it would burn off in a few weeks. It didn't. No one knows how much gas is trapped beneath the surface. In 2010, Turkmenistan's president called for it to be sealed. Nothing happened. Methane becomes explosive at just 5% concentration in air. The Darvaza crater has been flaring continuously since 1971. Poveglia Island, Italy. Poveglia first appeared in historical records in 421. By the 14th century, it was thriving. Then came the War of Chioggia. Venice needed a buffer, and the residents were forced to flee. Fortresses were built, battle followed, the island emptied. But the darkest chapter began in 1776, when the Republic of Venice converted Poveglia into a quarantine station. Plague ships were diverted here. Sick passengers were unloaded and isolated. Some recovered. Most didn't. It's said that over 160,000 people died on this island. Some buried, some burned, some never documented at all. Soil tests today show traces of ash and bone. From 1922 to 1968, Poveglia became a psychiatric hospital. The building still stands. So does the clock tower that once marked time for the dying. Inside the asylum, a doctor reportedly conducted experiments on the elderly and mentally ill, lobotomies, crude surgeries, unsanctioned treatments. According to legend, he later jumped from the bell tower and died. Some say he was pushed. Others say the island took him. Locals avoid it. Fishermen steer clear of its shores. Rumors persist of voices in empty rooms, of figures seen at night among the ruins. The patients once claimed they saw things. They weren't believed. The tombstone in the island's center reads, "Do not dig." Here rest those who died of contamination. Scarecrow Village, Japan. A woman kneels by her garden, straw hat low over her face. A man leans against a pole with a fishing rod in hand. Children play under a tree near the school, but none of them move. None of them breathe. This village isn't abandoned. It's repopulated with scarecrows. Deep in the Iya Valley of Japan's Shikoku Island, Nagoro is a place where dolls outnumber people. More than 300 life-sized figures are scattered across the town, sitting on benches, waiting at bus stops, staring out from the windows of empty houses. Most are modeled after real villagers who once lived here. Now, only about 30 humans remain. The first was made by Ayano Tsukimi, who returned to her hometown and noticed how empty it had become. One by one, she recreated the neighbors she remembered: teachers, farmers, shopkeepers. Some stand in familiar poses. Others are locked in scenes that seem frozen in time. A classroom, a wedding, a roadside meeting. Some figures are whimsical, some unsettling. None speak. Ayano still lives here. Every October, the village holds a Scarecrow Festival to showcase new creations. Some inspired by global figures like Harry Potter or former US presidents, but most still reflect life as it was: ordinary, rural, and slowly disappearing. The scarecrow-to-human ratio in Nagoro is approximately 10-1. Mannequin's Ghost Town. Pull into this town and you'll see the signs: an old saloon, a wooden church, a silent train station. Mannequins stare from behind dusty windows. Cats wander between buildings. It's quiet, but not dead. This is Rowley, Alberta. Population 8. In the 1920s, it was a thriving farming town with more than 500 people. Then came the Great Depression. Crops failed, the trains slowed, people packed up and left. Fires took out entire structures, and no one rebuilt. Rowley was emptied out like so many other prairie towns, left to erode into memory. But in the 1980s, the last residents made a decision. They wouldn't let it fade. Instead of bulldozing what remained, they leaned into the ghost town image. They restored Main Street to look like a movie set from the Wild West. Some buildings were built or remodeled for films like Legends of the Fall and Bye Bye Blues. They even opened the doors to tourists for free. Rowley's permanent population is only 8, but the town sees hundreds of visitors each summer, more than it did during its final years as a working prairie settlement. North Sentinel Island, roughly the size of Manhattan, floating in the Bay of Bengal. North Sentinel belongs to India, but in every real sense, it belongs to the Sentinelese, one of the last uncontacted tribes on Earth. They have made it clear for generations: outsiders are not welcome. The Indian government enforces a 5 nautical mile exclusion zone around the island. Boats that drift too close are met with arrows. Helicopters have been fired upon. In 2006, 2 fishermen were killed after their boat drifted ashore. In 2018, American missionary John Allen Chow attempted to approach the tribe. He never made it back. The Sentinelese live without electricity, roads, or any modern infrastructure. They don't use metal tools. They don't know the internet exists. They've never seen a city. Their immune systems have never encountered the viruses the rest of the world carries every day. Measles, the flu, even the common cold could be lethal. That's why contact is not only forbidden, it's dangerous for them. And yet, just recently, an American tourist, Mikhailo Viktorovich Polyakov, reportedly landed on the island, left offerings, and filmed himself. He was arrested. Indigenous rights organizations condemned the act as reckless, because one brief visit can have irreversible consequences. No confirmed peaceful contact with the Sentinelese has occurred since brief Indian-led expeditions in the early 1990s. Volvo Island, Illinois, USA. 80 miles southwest of Chicago, near the edge of Ottawa, Illinois, there's a man-made lake where a 2001 Volvo S80 rests quietly on what used to be part of a peninsula. The lake is now 40 feet deep in some areas, and the car looks perfectly stranded. Too far to drive in, too deep to tow out. The story isn't a mystery, exactly. According to reports from The Times and TheDrive.com, the lake was once a mine. After it flooded, a man named Scott Mann, owner of 2 local auto shops, moved the Volvo onto the land when it was still connected to shore. Later, the connection was excavated. The peninsula became an island. The car stayed put. At one point, Mann even made a game out of it. Guess how the Volvo got there? But as word spread and people grew curious, safety concerns followed. The lake's depth and remoteness made it risky. The contest ended. The car remained. There's no practical reason for the Volvo to be there. It doesn't serve a purpose. The Volvo on Volvo Island has likely been in the same spot for over a decade. Snake Island, Brazil. Dense vegetation, jagged rock, and thousands of snakes. Coiled in trees, curled under leaves, slipping through the underbrush. Every few feet, one moves. This is Queimada Grande. Locals call it Snake Island. Roughly 20 miles off the coast of São Paulo, this island is home to a species that exists nowhere else, the golden lancehead viper. Its venom is so toxic it can melt flesh. Its strike is fast, precise, and often fatal. Some estimates suggest there's one snake for every square meter of land. Because of its isolation, the golden lancehead evolved without predators. Over time, its venom grew more potent, to take down birds before they could fly away. There are no natural checks here, only snakes feeding and reproducing year after year. For safety, the Brazilian government bans public access to the island. No tourists, no fishermen, only licensed researchers with medical personnel on standby are allowed to set foot on its soil. Even then, they don't stay long. Disney House, Bedfordshire. The front door was barely hanging on its hinges. Inside, the air was heavy, like time had settled and refused to leave. Papers were scattered across the floor. Curtains hung limp in the stillness, and everywhere you looked, there were pieces of Disney. This is the house in Toddington, Bedfordshire, known only by a nickname now, the Disney House. Urban explorer Kyle Urbex documented the inside. What he found wasn't just decay, it was a child's world left to rot. Mickey Mouse dolls slumped in corners, vintage Disney magazines torn and curling at the edges, storybooks open mid-tale. A typewriter sat in the same place it was likely left a decade ago. Beside it, old photographs, faces faded but still watching. The house belonged to Henry Biddlecombe, who died in 2012. Since then, no one's lived there. The rooms have been rummaged through, vandalized, looted, but fragments of the past remain untouched, frozen in time, haunted only by what was left behind. The Disney House has remained abandoned since 2012. Buzluja Monument, Bulgaria. The Buzluja Monument, once a proud symbol of Bulgaria's communist past, now looks like a ruin from a future that never arrived. Perched above the town of Kazanlak, the UFO-shaped building was constructed between 1971 and 1984 to commemorate the founding of the Bulgarian Social Democratic Party. It was built to awe. Inside were mosaics, meeting halls, and Red Star symbolism. Outside, a towering spire pierced the clouds. Then, in 1989, the regime fell, and the building was sealed off. No government, no purpose, no upkeep, just silence. Since then, the monument has become a different kind of pilgrimage site. Urban explorers and photographers climb its broken steps, capturing a world collapsed in slow motion. Inside, water stains spread across ceilings. Paint flakes off like dried skin. Among the rubble, an old piano with sheet music still on the stand, a rusted sewing machine, torn birthday cards, comic books in Cyrillic, each item a detail in a larger, vanishing story. The Buzluja Monument was designed to resemble a flying saucer and is one of the largest communist-era structures in Eastern Europe. AMARG Aircraft Graveyard. Rows of faded warplanes stretch across the Arizona desert, wing to wing, like a metallic graveyard. There are no runways here, no flight paths, just a sea of silence, broken only by the wind moving over aluminum skin. This is Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, home to the 309 Aerospace Maintenance and Regeneration Group, better known as the world's largest aircraft boneyard. Located just outside Tucson, the base began storing military aircraft after World War II. The desert's conditions, low humidity, minimal rainfall, hard soil, make it ideal. Planes don't rust here, they simply wait. AMARG holds more than 4,400 aircraft from the Air Force, Navy, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, NASA, and other federal agencies. Most are retired, some are dismantled, others are restored and sent back to service or repurposed into aerial target drones. Not everything here stays forever. A MARG also stores rare tooling, salvages valuable components, and supports museum preservation efforts. It's not just a resting place. It's a vast, organized system of controlled decay and selective resurrection. AMARG spans over 2,600 acres and employs around 550 people, mostly civilians, making it not just the largest aircraft boneyard in the world. Ghost on the balcony, France. On December 10, 2011, something unusual appeared on Google Street View, something that didn't stay visible for long. An anonymous user on 4chan's X board, known for paranormal discussions, posted coordinates that led to a residential street in Nancy, France. At first glance, it looked like an ordinary neighborhood, but zooming in revealed something odd. A pale, humanoid figure hunched near a home's exterior. Thin limbs, elongated body, no clear face. Speculation exploded. Some said it resembled a gray alien. Others thought it was a mannequin or a trick of the light. One practical answer claimed it was just a surfboard holder, a mundane object caught at an odd angle. But then the image vanished. Not long after the thread gained traction, Google censored the location. Street View access was removed, and the spot became blurred. Standard protocol for privacy, but the timing raised suspicion. Why hide it after it was already visible? Was it something more than a surfboard stand? To this day, Google has never made a public statement about the image. The original uncensored view survives only in screenshots.
And now, it's time for the open discussion.
You won't believe what we found. This is the scariest Google Maps location in all of the world. A ghostly aircraft wreck rotting in shallow waters. Its jagged nose and hollow cabin sending chills down your spine. No flight records, no distress calls, no survivors. How did this even get here? And why hasn't it been removed? Is it a forgotten accident or a secret the ocean was never meant to share? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to mention #OpenDiscussion. Concrete City, USA. This concrete city in Luzerne County, Pennsylvania still stands, almost untouched by time, yet slowly collapsing from within. Built in 1911, Concrete City was a bold experiment, a company town of 22 uniform duplexes laid out in a grid, surrounding a courtyard with tennis courts and a baseball field. It was housing for elite employees of the Delaware, Lackawanna, and Western Railroad's coal division. The architecture was stark, modern for its time, an early glimpse of the international style. Clean lines, solid forms, all concrete. But concrete doesn't forgive. It doesn't adapt easily. And when the Glen Alden Coal Company took over and balked at the cost of installing indoor plumbing, they chose to abandon it instead. In 1924, the town was vacated. Attempts to demolish it failed. Explosives barely scratched the surface. The concrete held. Since then, the buildings have sat, windowless, overgrown, empty. The site has become a strange playground. Military and police units run training drills here. Firefighters stage rescues. Paintball and airsoft teams treat it like a battlefield. Urban explorers wander through the ruins, photographing decay framed by concrete geometry. The sunken city of Baia, Italy. An entire Roman city sleeps underwater. Marble columns rise from the sand. Mosaics still line the floors. Statues stand in silence, their features blurred by centuries beneath the waves. This is Baia, Rome's sunken playground. Once the height of luxury, Baia was where emperors went to forget power. Nero, Cicero, and Julius Caesar vacationed here. Villas sprawled across hillsides. Spas steamed with volcanic heat. The city was built atop natural thermal vents, turning it into the ancient world's wellness capital, and its most decadent. But decadence doesn't last. By the 8th century, Baia was sacked. Over time, it was abandoned. The ground beneath it shifted. The sea rose. What had once been palaces and bathhouses became submerged ruins. Now, the lost city lives on as an underwater archaeological park. Tourists float over it in glass-bottom boats. Divers and snorkelers glide between walls and sculptures, drifting through the ghost of a Roman resort. Baia is no longer a place of parties, but the echoes of empire still linger beneath just a few feet of water. Face in the desert, Nevada. On a quiet plateau near Mountain's Edge, something strange peers back at the city. Something man-made, deliberate, and entirely unclaimed. Rocks have been arranged into a large triangle, each corner marked with a symbol. One point holds a yin-yang, another a face. From the ground, it's nearly invisible, just jagged desert rock blending into more rock. But from above, the design becomes clear. It hides in plain sight, visible only to satellites and those who know where to look. The structure was first noticed by Dr. Dave Golan, a local resident. He found it while exploring nearby trails. When viewed in person, the arrangement is subtle. The rocks are heavy, sharp, and scattered across uneven terrain. There's no trail leading to it, no plaque, no name. Satellite images give clues. In April 2022, the face was frowning, but by early 2023, it had been changed to a smile. Someone had returned. Quietly. Precisely. They never left a trace of who they were. Thanks to readers Brent Ozar and Richard Kimmel, who combed through historical satellite data, we know the formation has existed in some form for at least a year, maybe longer. But the artist or group remains anonymous. As of January 2023, the triangle, face, and yin-yang formation on the mountain's edge plateau is visible on satellite imagery. Badlands Guardian, Canada. From the ground, it's just dry prairie, rolling hills and dusty trails stretching across southern Alberta. But from above, the land reveals something else. A face, ancient and still, sculpted not by hands but by wind, water, and time. This is the Badlands Guardian, a massive natural formation near Cypress County, roughly 300 kilometers southeast of the Royal Tyrrell Museum. It looks unmistakably like a human head in profile, wearing a feathered headdress. And yet, no one knew it was there until 2006. Lynn Hickox, a resident of Gravelbourg, Saskatchewan, stumbled across it by accident while exploring Google Earth. She was searching for the Dinosaur Museum in Drumheller when she noticed something strange in the landscape. She zoomed in, pinned the location, and nicknamed it Indian Head. The resemblance was uncanny. Later, Cypress County officials would rename the formation the Badlands Guardian. What makes it even more bizarre is the appearance of earbuds, a man-made access road that happens to line up perfectly with the ear of the formation, as if the Guardian is listening to music. It wasn't planned, it just aligned. Today, the site is considered one of the world's most fascinating accidental landforms, featured in many books. La Famille Express shipwreck, rusting in turquoise water 2 miles off the southeastern coast of Providenciales. Its hull leans slightly, its decks weathered by salt and sun. The La Famille Express isn't a ghost ship. It never vanished mysteriously, but it's certainly a relic, and it wasn't always here. This ship began its life in 1953, built in the Soviet Union and originally named Fort Shevchenko, after a military outpost near the Caspian Sea. It was an oil rig service vessel used by the Soviet Navy to deliver supplies to offshore platforms. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, the ship was sold, passed through various owners, and eventually reflagged under Panama in 1999, renamed La Famille Express. It hauled bulk rock through the Caribbean until Hurricane Francis hit in 2004. High winds ripped the ship from its anchorage near South Dock, and it drifted until grounding on the Caicos banks, a vast stretch of shallow reef that has claimed more than 1,000 vessels over the centuries. La Famille Express stayed there, stuck in water too shallow to recover it, too remote to dismantle. Now, the wreck is a surreal landmark. Pentagram in Kazakhstan. From ground level, it's nothing more than a faded grid of old roadways and tree lines. But from the sky, from Google Maps, it's unmistakable. A pentagram, nearly 1,200 feet across, carved into the southern shore of the Upper Tobol Reservoir. There's nothing else around it. No nearby houses, no obvious structures, just the symbol, standing alone against the open land. When it first appeared online, speculation took off. Some saw it as a symbol of devil worship. Others believed it to be connected to occult activity, noting that 2 pins left by previous map users marked points within the star. One labeled Adam, the other Lucifer. The name only fueled the theories, but the truth isn't cloaked in shadow. According to archaeologists who have spent years working in the area around Lysychovsk, the star isn't a mystery at all. It's a Soviet-era park, laid out in the shape of a star, a common symbol during the Soviet Union's reign. In the mid-20th century, stars like this appeared in flags, emblems, statues, even park layouts. The shape remains clear today because the park's roads were lined with trees, which have survived long after the site itself was abandoned. Zoom in, and what looks like dark lines are the shadows of those tree rows, nature tracing the outline of etiology. Doorway in Antarctic ice. Amid the endless white of Antarctica's ice fields, something sharp and geometric breaks the surface, a dark rectangular shape cut into a snow-covered slope. It doesn't match the natural contours around it. It looks deliberate, like a doorway carved into the side of a frozen mountain. The image, spotted in 2024 on Google Maps, quickly ignited a wave of speculation. Social media threads erupted with theories. A hidden research facility? An alien base? A relic of some secret Antarctic operation? Some even claimed it resembled the entrance to an underground structure. According to geologists and remote sensing analysts, what many are calling a door is almost certainly a crevasse, a deep vertical crack formed by stress in glacial ice. When viewed from above, some crevasses can appear rectangular, especially if partially covered by drifting snow or casting shadows that exaggerate their shape. Add the low angle of Antarctic sun, the high contrast of black and white in the terrain, and the quirks of satellite image compression, and you get a compelling illusion. No structures have been recorded at the coordinates in question. Still, the image remains on Google Maps, drawing curious clicks and conspiracy theories with every zoom. Mysterious hill in Sudan, dubbed the Landlocked Lips. This formation was first noticed in 2012 via satellite imagery from Google Earth. It's massive, stretching nearly 3,000 feet long and more than 1,200 feet wide. The symmetry is striking. Even in the desolate vastness of the region, it stands out immediately. There's no official name for the feature in geological records. On Google Maps, it's labeled vaguely as a campground, though there's no evidence of structures, trails, or occupation. Just the lips, unchanged for thousands of years, unnoticed until someone happened to look down from space. The formation's pinkish color, caused by mineral staining or sediment layers, only amplifies its resemblance to human anatomy. In newer satellite images, the area around the hill has grown unexpectedly green, suggesting a shift in local vegetation or water flow. But the lips themselves remain intact. Geologists have proposed a few theories: wind erosion shaping softer sedimentary rock, tectonic uplift exposing layered formations, or a coincidence of slope and shadow. But no comprehensive study has been conducted on site. Its formation in Sudan measures nearly half a mile across and remains unnamed and unexplored. Abandoned jail and hospital, Georgia. Tucked within the grounds of what was once one of the largest psychiatric institutions in the United States, River State Prison shares a complicated and often overlooked history with Central State Hospital in Milledgeville, Georgia. Originally constructed as part of the hospital complex, the prison was born from crisis. By 1937, Central State Hospital was bursting at the seams, housing more than 7,200 patients in a facility designed for fewer than 5,000. Buildings dating back to the 1840s were crumbling. Basic infrastructure was failing. No major expansions had been made in 2 decades. Governor Urith Dickinson Rivers, recognizing the looming collapse of the institution, turned to New Deal programs, the Works Progress Administration, WPA, and the Public Works Administration, PWA, to seek emergency funding. He called it a race with impending tragedy. Among those additions was what would become Rivers State Prison, a structure built to manage patients who were considered violent or unfit for general population, and later adapted into a correctional facility. Its design reflected the era: stark, institutional, and focused more on confinement than rehabilitation. Over the decades, as psychiatric treatment practices evolved and patient numbers declined, the once sprawling Central State Hospital began to shrink. Much of the campus fell into abandonment, but the shadow of its past still lingers. Blood Lake, Iraq. In 2007, sharp-eyed users scanning Google Earth noticed something unsettling on the outskirts of Sadr City, Iraq. A deep red lake, as if the Earth itself were bleeding. The image sparked immediate speculation. Theories ranged from the grimly cinematic to the scientific. Some claim the color came from animal blood, a byproduct of nearby slaughterhouses, allegedly dumped into local canals. The rumors spread quickly, fueled by the region's instability and lack of environmental regulation. Others suggested less disturbing explanations: chemical runoff, industrial waste, or even treatment agents used in wastewater processing. In regions with aging infrastructure, heavy pollution can create bizarre and vibrant colors in standing water. Despite the buzz, no official explanation was ever issued by Iraqi authorities. Satellite imagery later showed the lake's color return to a murky brown, its blood-red hue a temporary anomaly. Still, the image remains one of the more chilling examples of satellite-era mystery, a pool of red in a war-scarred landscape, unexplained and unforgettable. The Red Lake near Sadr City appeared on Google Earth in 2007 and has never been officially explained. And that's a wrap, fam. Thanks for vibing with me till the end. Keep chasing growth, respecting the roots, and staying true to yourself. Until next time, peace out and stay winning.